There's a truth most of us are never taught in school. Money isn't meant to be kept. Money is created to work. But most people do the opposite. They work for money all their lives, while their money does nothing. It sleeps in the account while they stay up late, wake up early, worry, stress, and burn out. A friend once told me, "Jim, I work so hard, but money never seems to stay with me." I smiled and replied, "Because you treat money like a fragile child that needs protection, instead of training it to become a soldier that works for you. When you understand how to make money work for you, everything changes. You no longer just make a living. You start building a life. You stop chasing money, and money starts finding you." In today's video, I'll share with you 7 core principles that can help you reverse the roles between you and money. And if you stay till the end, you'll understand why the rich become freer while the poor become more exhausted, even though both work equally hard. And now let's begin with the first principle, the foundation of every financial freedom I've ever known. Principle Adin: build an invisible army called money. I once told a group of students in California, if you don't find a way to make money work for you while you sleep, you'll have to work until you die. The whole room laughed, but only a few understood. Most people spend their whole lives working for money while only a few make money work for them. That's why in the same amount of time one person grows rich, the other burns out. I once met a 42-year-old man in Texas who worked 12 hours a day. He had a good income, his own house, his own car, but he lived in fear. If one day I stop working, my income will disappear. He didn't realize that every dollar he earned was unemployed. It did nothing for him, just sat idle in his account like soldiers untrained for battle. The rich are different. They build an invisible army called money. Every dollar they have is sent out like a soldier to go out, work, fight, and return with spoils. Imagine this: a small investment, a book you write and sell online, a video that creates value for others, a rental apartment, or even a small share in a company you believe in. All of these can become your loyal employees. No raise needed, no vacation, never tired. The more employees you have, the freer you become. Because while you sleep, that army is still working. While you take a walk, they're still generating profit. And when you retire, they continue paying your salary. The poor often have one source of income, a job. The rich have multiple sources, and each one is a soldier. They understand human strength is limited, but the power of money is infinite. You can't expand your time, but you can multiply the value of your money. Money is energy. If you know how to direct it, it multiplies, circulates, and comes back to you. Start even with your first dollar. Save it, buy a small investment fund, or learn to create something of lasting value. Every dollar that leaves your hand the right way will come back with its friends. Don't guard money like a storekeeper. Train it like a leader. When you have an army of money working for you, life is different. You're no longer stuck in the cycle of earn, spend, exhaust. Instead, you stand aside and watch. That army works quietly every day. And once you understand the power of your money army, the next principle will help you choose the right soldiers. The assets that truly pay you. Principle 2, only buy what pays you. There are 2 kinds of people in this world, those who buy assets and those who buy liabilities. The second type often says, "I've worked all year. I deserve to reward myself." Then they buy a car, a new phone, a bigger house than they need. For a moment, they feel happy. But months later, when bills, insurance, and cost start piling up, that joy fades, leaving only pressure. They don't realize they just bought themselves a new master. And they must work even harder to serve those invisible masters. The rich are different. Before buying anything, they ask one question: does this pay me? If the answer is no, they don't buy it. They don't buy with emotion, they buy with vision. A house you live in isn't an asset because it costs you money every month, but a rental apartment is an asset because it pays you every month. A car for commuting isn't an asset, but if that car runs as a service and earns money, it's an asset. The rich see everything through one question: does this feed me or do I feed it? If you feed it, it's a liability. If it feeds you, it's an asset. Look around your home and ask, how many things here are draining money from my pocket and how many are working for me? That single question can change your financial future. I once met a young man in San Diego, 26 years old, earning only $2,500 a month. Instead of buying a new car, he bought an old house, fixed it up, and rented part of it out. 3 years later, the house paid enough rent for him to quit his full-time job and start a small startup. He told me, "I realized if I buy the right things, they'll work for me forever." The rich aren't smarter, they're just more disciplined with money. They don't spend to show off, they spend to grow. One day, they no longer need to go to work because their assets are paying them. That's when money starts working and freedom begins to appear. But for those assets to truly grow, you must understand the simplest yet most powerful rule in finance, the rule of compound interest. And that's the next principle. Principle 3, compound interest only works when you don't touch the money. There are rules in life that operate quietly whether you believe in them or not, and compound interest is one of those rules. Albert Einstein once called it the eighth wonder of the world because he knew nothing beats the power of time combined with patience. Picture this: you plant a tiny seed in the ground. Tomorrow you dig it up to see if it's grown. Then you bury it again, dig it up again, and so on. That seed will never grow. Not because it's weak, but because you don't give it enough time to root. Money is the same. If you constantly touch it, withdraw, spend change, worry, you stop its natural growth process. I once met a young man in New York who had just started investing in stocks. He said to me, "Jim, I've invested, but I don't see myself getting richer." I asked, "How long have you been investing?" He said, 4 months. I smiled. 4 months isn't long enough to see a difference, but 4 years can change your entire life. Compound interest isn't for the impatient. It's for those who know when to stand still. Every dollar you reinvest starts working for you, and then it creates new employees. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. And before you know it, your army has grown 10-fold, 100-fold. But most people kill that magic just because they want instant results. They pull out too early, spend their first profits, and then say, investing doesn't work. No investing works. Only the investor lacks patience. Let time be your ally. Because when you give money time to work, it will outperform any employee you've ever hired. I remember the first time I truly understood compound interest. I invested a small amount into an income fund in 1965. 15 years later, I look back. The amount had grown more than 10-fold, and what amazed me most was that 80% of the growth came from reinvested profits. I didn't need to do anything more, just not touch the money. And here's the lesson: you can't afford to miss. Patience is the highest form of profit. When you have the discipline not to spend what you just earned, you allow compound interest to do its job. People want to get rich fast, but those who truly become wealthy are the ones who slow down to let money grow. Don't ruin the harvest because you're too eager to eat early. Let the seed stay in the ground long enough to become a tree. And if by now what I've shared really resonates with you, take a few seconds to do one small thing that could change your entire learning journey. If you find these principles truly valuable, hit subscribe to keep learning with me, where we'll explore lessons that help you build lasting financial freedom, step by step, principle by principle. Think of this as planting a small seed, because every time you choose to learn something new, you're letting the compound interest of knowledge start working in your own life. And now join me in the next principle, where you'll understand why the rich are never the only link in their system. Principle: Chitiri build a system that runs without you. One of the most common mistakes I've seen among hardworking people is that they become the only link in their own lives. Everything depends on them: income plans, work, even happiness. And the moment they stop for a day, everything collapses. I call it the trap of the competent worker. You're so good that no one can replace you, but that's exactly why you'll never be free. I once coached a small business owner in Florida. He ran a print shop with 15 employees, but every order, every print, every contract had to go through him. I asked, "If you take a week off, what happens?" He sighed, "I don't dare to." He wasn't running a business. He just owned a more complicated job. The rich understand this very well. They don't want to do everything. They want to build systems where things keep running even when they're not there. A system could be a business with a stable operating team, a property with long-term tenants, a content channel, digital product, or automated platform running 24/7, or simply an automated investment process that executes every month. The key isn't size, it's self-operation. When your system works for you, you can step back to observe, adjust, and expand. That's when you work on the system, not in it. To build a system, you must master the art of delegation. A person who works for themselves isn't someone who does everything, but someone who assigns the right tasks to the right people and trusts the system to function as one organism. Start small. Automate repetitive tasks, payments, savings, reports, data management. That's how you buy back your own time, because time is your most valuable asset. Without a system, you're just trading time for money. With a system, you're trading, thinking for freedom. I once asked a friend, a veteran investor in California, how much money is enough to retire? He smiled and said, "It doesn't matter how much I have, Jim. What matters is whether my system works without me." And that was the most profound answer I've ever heard. Because money will run out, but the right system will keep creating money value and time. Don't let yourself become the only link. Learn to build mechanisms that run self-check and grow on their own. Because if everything depends on your presence, you're a slave to your own success. Freedom doesn't come from doing less. Freedom comes from setting up the right system to work for you. And once you have a system that runs itself, you'll reach the state everyone dreams of, where money keeps flowing even when you stop. Principle, get. True freedom is when money flows, even when you stop. I once asked a close friend in Arizona, "What makes you feel truly free?" He paused for a moment and replied, "The day I no longer have to work to pay bills and can do everything I love." That answer stayed with me for a long time, because most of us misunderstand freedom. We think freedom means quitting our job or doing nothing, but true freedom is being able to do what you choose without being bound by financial pressure. One day your body will need rest. One day you'll want more time for your family, for the people you love, for quiet afternoons watching sunlight through the window. But if at that point every minute you stop means money stops flowing, you'll never truly rest. You might leave your company, but not your financial fear. You might travel, but your mind still carries the bills. That's not freedom. That's just a vacation with interest. The rich understand this clearly. They don't look for ways to escape work. They find ways for work to continue without them. They know that freedom doesn't come when you stop working. It comes when money works without you. When cash flow continues, even as you pause, you enter a new state, a state of intentional living. Then you can choose to spend mornings reading instead of sitting in traffic. Have coffee with your son and talk about his dreams. Travel for 2 weeks without checking your phone. That is true freedom, when time belongs to you and money becomes a tool for living, not a chain that binds you. I once met a 60-year-old man, a former engineer in a factory in Ohio. He worked hard for 35 years, never missed a day. When he retired, his pension barely covered the basics. He said, "Jim, I thought I'd be free, but it turns out I just traded one factory for a small house where I still have to count every penny before I spend." I looked at him and gently said, "Freedom isn't a reward for working long enough. It's the result of building the right system early." Remember, financial freedom doesn't come from a number in your account, but from the structure of cash flow behind it. If that cash flow keeps running, even when you stop, you've won. But if you must trade your health time or precious years just to keep it alive, then no matter how much you earn, you're still a prisoner of money. So ask yourself today, if I stop tomorrow, would money still flow? If the answer is no, don't worry. That's your signal to begin. Start building systems, investments, or knowledge that create passive income. Bit by bit, your cash flow will start separating from your effort. And that's when you truly begin to live. Freedom isn't about doing nothing. It's about having the choice to do what you want. When you make money work for you, you don't just create wealth, you create choice. And that ability to choose is the most beautiful form of freedom. And to go even further, to make that system truly sustainable, you need a different kind of investment. One that doesn't lie in the bank, but within yourself. Principle chaste, invest in financial knowledge. Turn yourself into a profit-generating asset. I once said in a seminar, before you invest in stocks, real estate, or any business, invest in your brain first. Someone stood up and asked me, why start with myself when I just want to make money faster? I smiled and replied, because if you don't understand the language of money, you'll always be controlled by it. Most people want more money, but very few understand how money works. They talk about investing, but can't distinguish assets from liabilities. They talk about financial freedom, but don't know how to read a balance sheet. And so they're driven by the news, by the crowd, not by knowledge and vision. The rich are different. They see knowledge as the longest lasting profit generating asset. Money can be lost, opportunities can pass, but the right understanding will rebuild everything from scratch. I once met a 25-year-old in Chicago. He worked at a small company earning just enough to get by, but every month he set aside 10% of his income to buy books and finance courses. 3 years later, he had enough knowledge to start investing in stocks. 5 years later, he was running a small business specializing in personal finance consulting. When I asked, what's the best investment you've ever made, he answered without hesitation, the books I read. Investing in knowledge is an invisible form of compounding. Every book you read, every conversation you listen to, every mistake you learn from, all multiply quietly, and one day they pay you an intellectual dividend no one can steal. Markets can crash, currencies can devalue, but wisdom never goes into crisis. I once said, if you invest in your job, you make a living. But if you invest in yourself, you build wealth. And knowledge doesn't just help you make money, it helps you keep it and multiply it. Those who don't understand the rules of finance are always swept up by emotion, fearful when others are greedy, greedy when others are fearful. Those with knowledge remain steady in the storm. They understand markets rise and fall, but true value endures. They don't invest blindly, they invest with vision. They don't chase trends, they let compounding do its work. So start treating knowledge as a mandatory investment. Budget for learning just as you do for food or transportation. See every book, every course, every mentoring session as a share of intellect you're buying. Each share will pay dividends, not in cash, but in thinking capability and vision. And when you become rich in thinking, money will naturally find its way to you. I've always believed no investment yields higher returns than investing in yourself. You are your first business and your most important asset. If you grow every day, every other area of your life will grow with you. And once you understand enough, you'll no longer be obsessed with making money, but focus on creating value. Because at that point, you've reached a higher level of freedom, freedom from ignorance. And when you have knowledge, you can deliver value, because money never comes from chasing it, but from the value you bring to others. Principle 7, deliver value. First, money will find you. I once heard a great saying, money doesn't follow people, it follows value. And over many years of work, I realized truly wealthy people don't chase money. They chase value, the useful things they bring to others. When you focus on making money, you only see numbers. But when you focus on delivering value, you see people, the ones you help, the lives you touch, and that creates the most sustainable flow of money. Those who work for money often ask, how much am I paid? Those who create value ask, how many people can I help? Different questions, different outcomes. Look at the successful people around you, authors, entrepreneurs, artists, teachers. They all share one thing: they give value before they receive. An author isn't wealthy because he wrote a book. He's wealthy because that book changed millions of people. An entrepreneur isn't wealthy because he sells a product. He's wealthy because that product truly solves people's problems. I once spoke with a woman in California. She taught online cooking starting from her small kitchen. At first, no one cared. But instead of running ads, she focused on sharing for free tips for healthy cooking, how to use ingredients wisely, how to love yourself through each meal. 3 years later, her channel had hundreds of thousands of followers. Her classes were full, and big brands invited her to collaborate. She told me, Jim, I'm not selling recipes. I'm putting energy and love into every dish. Money is just a byproduct. And that is the essence of this principle. When you sow value, you create fertile ground for money to grow on its own. Money doesn't come from how badly you want it, but from how much you deserve it. I used to say, if you want more, become more valuable. The poor say, when I have money, I'll give. The rich say, when I give, I'll have more. Those are two different worlds of thinking, and you must choose which one you belong to. Money is a reward, not the goal. When you help others get what they want, you won't have to chase money. Money will find you because you become a source of value. That's also why those who are truly happy and free rarely talk much about money. They talk about the journey, about belief, about how they make others better. And that's what makes them richer every day, both financially and spiritually. So start today, give something you believe in. A skill and experience, a lesson. Sow value, even a little, every day. You might not see results immediately, but trust me, value has a memory. It always comes back when you're no longer chasing it. And now that you understand the 7 principles to make money work for you, remember that this journey doesn't start with capital, but with vision and faith in yourself. Sit down, take a sheet of paper, and write this one question. What is my money doing for me today? If the answer is not much, that's the beginning of freedom. Set clear goals. Build at least one passive income stream in the next 12 months. Read at least 12 personal finance books in 1 year. And every day give one small value to others. Because when you enrich others, the universe will find a way to enrich you. You don't need to work more, you just need to become more valuable. Jim Rohn. If this video resonated with you, like, subscribe, and share it so we can spread the principles of true freedom together, where money works for people, not people for money. And don't miss the next video, Money Follows Value, Not Ours, because that's the continuation of this journey, where you learn to turn value into an endless flow of success. Jim Rohn Treasures, where seeds of knowledge are planted and freedom is nurtured day by day.